Have you ever wondered why you work harder than everyone else, yet somehow they still rise while you stay stuck? Why the people who cheat, manipulate, and stay quiet in the right moments always seem to win? Why being a good person never protected you from being used, ignored, or forgotten? You tell yourself it's just bad luck, wrong timing, maybe next year will be better. But deep down, you know something's off. The world doesn't reward effort, it rewards perception. It rewards those who know how to play the invisible game, the game you were never taught to see. Listen carefully, because this is where your life starts to change. Every time you felt powerless, someone else understood the rules better. Every time you explained yourself, justified yourself, begged to be seen, you gave your power away. Not because you were weak, but because you were trained to believe that being understood was more important than being strategic. The truth is, brutal fairness is not real. Is not. You've been living by rules that were never designed for you to win. But once you see that everything shifts, you begin to notice patterns, the tone people use, the silence, they keep the timing of their words. You begin to read what's not being said. That's the moment the game becomes visible. You don't need permission to become powerful. You just need to stop pretending the world is fair. Power starts the second you open your eyes and say, I see what's happening, and I choose to move differently. If this hit you deeper than you expected, stay here. Subscribe not for motivation, but for strategy. Because the next few chapters will teach you what no one else will, how to stop playing by their rules and start mastering your own. You're not lost. You were just blind. Now you see. Have you ever replayed a conversation in your head and realized hours later what you should have said? Have you ever walked away from an argument smiling on the outside but burning with the thought, they just played me? You tell yourself to let it go, to stay above it. But deep down, you hate how predictable you were. How easy it was for them to twist the moment, control the tone, walk away with your power while you stood there trying to sound reasonable. That's not weakness. That's blindness. You were raised to think people mean what they say. They don't. People reveal themselves in patterns, small glances, nervous gestures, sudden silence. They tell you who they are long before they say it out loud. But you were too busy being polite to notice. Every betrayal you've ever faced was a lesson in human nature that you never studied. The friend who disappeared when you needed help, the boss who promised promotion and delivered excuses, the partner who said, I love you while collecting leverage. They weren't accidents. They were teachers. You just didn't realize you were in class. Start watching, not judging watching. Watch who interrupts you. Watch who smiles when others fail. Watch who gets quiet when you succeed. You'll start seeing the architecture behind every behavior, the invisible script people run on repeat. When you learn that, you stop being surprised. You start being prepared. Don't waste another decade getting played by the same patterns. Stay here. Subscribe, because the next lesson will train your eyes to see what most people ignore the moment someone's mask slips, the instant their truth leaks through their tone. You've been reacting your whole life. It's time to observe. Once you see the pattern, you control the game. Have you ever noticed how being the nice one never seems to protect you? How you bend over backward, keep the peace, avoid conflict, yet somehow you're still the one who gets blamed, overlooked, or taken for granted. You tell yourself kindness will come back around, that being good will eventually pay off. But what if it won't? What if being nice is the reason they think they can use you? You've spent years trying to be liked, thinking approval was safety. But approval is a leash. Every time you silence yourself to stay likable, you tighten it. Every time you let someone cross a line to keep the peace, you lose a piece of yourself. They call it humility. They call it grace. But really, it's conditioning. You were taught to make others comfortable, even when it costs you your dignity. Here's the truth. No one tells you kindness without boundaries is manipulation, just reversed. You manipulate yourself into discomfort so others won't have to face theirs. You give until you're empty and then resent them for taking. That's not virtue. That's self-erasure. The strongest people you know aren't cruel. They're clear. They say no without guilt. They disappoint others to stay honest with themselves. That's not coldness. That's integrity. Being kind doesn't mean being available. It means being real. And reality has edges. It's time to stop mistaking being liked for being respected. Choose respect, it lasts longer. If this feels uncomfortably true, it means you've lived it. Stay here. Subscribe not for comfort, but for clarity. Because the next chapter will show you how to speak power without raising your voice, and how silence can protect you more than sweetness ever did. You don't owe anyone your softness. You owe yourself your spine. Have you ever walked away from a conversation thinking, why did I say all that? Why did you explain so much? Defend yourself so hard? Reveal what didn't need to be shared only to feel smaller afterward? You told yourself you were being honest. But deep down, you know you were trying to be understood. You were begging to be seen. And in doing that, you handed them your power. Every unnecessary word becomes evidence against you. The more you talk, the more they read you. The more you justify, the more they sense insecurity. Silence doesn't make you weak, it makes you unpredictable. And unpredictability is protection. The truth is, most people lose influence not because they lack skill, but because they can't stop talking. They leak their thoughts like open faucets, hoping validation will fill them back up. But validation is a bottomless pit, and words are the currency you keep spending until you're broke. Look at the people who carry authority when they speak. They never rush. They never over-explain. Every sentence lands because it's deliberate. They understand that silence makes their words heavier. Power doesn't shout at pauses. Start small. Let the silence hang for 3 seconds before you respond. Don't fill every space with explanations. Watch how quickly people begin to reveal themselves just to escape the quiet. The less you say, the more they show. Your words are not harmless. They're leverage data and signal all at once. Guard them. If this stings a little, it's because you know how often your voice has betrayed your intentions. Stay here. Subscribe not for comfort, but for control. The next chapter will show you how stillness becomes strategy and how silence, when mastered, can move entire rooms. Remember, power doesn't come from speaking louder. It comes from learning when not to speak at all. Have you ever noticed how uncomfortable silence makes you? How your heart races in a quiet room? How you rush to fill the space with nervous words, small talk, excuses, anything to escape that emptiness? You think you're being polite. You think you're keeping things smooth. But what if that urge to speak is the reason you keep losing control? People reveal everything when you stop talking. Their tone, their rhythm, their need to fill the silence. It all exposes them. When you stay quiet, you become the mirror they can't stand to look into. They start projecting, confessing, explaining themselves, trying to decode what you might be thinking. You didn't do anything yet, they give you everything. That's the hidden power of stillness. It's not passive. It's pressure. The kind that makes truth surface without you having to ask. The kind that makes others show their cards while you hold yours close. Think back to every time you rushed to reassure someone to fix their discomfort. Did it ever help you or just make them feel stronger? Silence isn't awkward, it's information. It's the moment you let the mask slip off their face. When you stop trying to fill the silence starts working for you. It builds mystery, it builds respect, and most importantly, it builds leverage. So next time someone asks a question that doesn't deserve an answer, pause. Let the quiet do the talking. Watch what happens. If you've ever felt drained from explaining yourself to people who never really listen, this message was for you. Stay here. Subscribe not for noise, but for knowledge. Because in the next chapter, you'll learn how to read what people mean, not what they say. Remember, this silence isn't empty, it's full of data. Have you ever wondered why the hardest workers are rarely the ones in control? Why you stay late, give more sacrifice weekends, and still watch someone half as competent take the credit, the raise, the respect? You were told hard work speaks for itself, but it doesn't. It whispers. And in a world full of people who shout, whispering gets you ignored. The truth is, effort alone doesn't build power, leverage does. The system doesn't reward sweat, it rewards strategy. You can grind for decades and still lose to someone who understands timing, framing, and perception. Because the game isn't about who deserves it most, it's about who positions themselves best. Every hour you spend proving your worth to people who already benefit from your effort is an hour they're using to plan their next move. The powerful don't chase approval. They design outcomes. They work less publicly but more precisely. They don't try to do everything, they pick what multiplies their influence. Ask yourself, are you building something or are you just busy? There's a difference between progress and motion. Busy people look active. Strategic people look calm and win quietly. Stop thinking like labor. Start thinking like leverage. Build systems that work while you rest. Learn skills that multiply value instead of draining time. Protect your energy like it's currency because it is. If this cuts a little too close, that's good. It means you've been giving more than you're gaining. Stay here. Subscribe not for motivation but for mastery. Because the next chapter will show you how power isn't earned, it's engineered. You've done enough working harder. It's time to start working smarter than them. Have you ever felt invisible in a room full of people who seem to shine effortlessly? You speak and it barely lands. They speak and everyone listens. You tell yourself it's because they're louder, more confident, maybe just lucky. But what if it's not luck at all? What if they simply understand something you don't? That perception is designed, not discovered. Every powerful person you've ever admired wears a mask, not to deceive, but to direct. They reveal just enough to keep others engaged, but never enough to be predictable. They understand that mystery creates magnetism, that what people don't know about you makes them pay attention longer. You, on the other hand, were taught to just be yourself, to overshare, to be transparent, to be relatable. And yet, where has that gotten you? You've bled honesty into conversations that didn't deserve it. You've told your story to people who only listened for weakness. You've confused openness with connection. Authenticity doesn't mean exposure, it means control. It's not about showing everything, it's about showing what serves you. Think of every sentence, every photo, every reveal as a calculated move on the board. You are not lying by omission. You're protecting your narrative. When people think they fully understand you, they stop respecting you. The moment they believe there's more beneath the surface, they lean in. That's presence. That's power. So start crafting what they see. Build an image that represents your direction, not your insecurity. And if this truth stings, it's because you've been too easy to read. Stay here. Subscribe not for fakery, but for focus. Because the next chapter will teach you how to define the story before someone else writes it for you. Remember this, what's hidden isn't dishonest, it's strategic. Have you ever lost control of a situation, not because you were wrong, but because someone else told the story first? Have you ever watched your reputation bend under someone else's version of the truth? While you stood there trying to clear things up, you thought facts would save you. But facts never win. Frames do. The first person to define what something means controls how everyone else sees it. That's why politicians rush to speak after a scandal, why companies release a statement before the press does, and why the people who always seem untouchable know exactly how to control the narrative before anyone else can. You, on the other hand, were taught to wait, to explain, to defend. But every time you defend, you lose ground. Because once you're reacting, you've already accepted their frame. You're playing inside their version of the story. And in power dynamics, whoever defines the meaning wins the moment. It's not about lying. It's about leadership. It's about choosing what gets highlighted, what gets softened, what becomes the takeaway. The powerful don't let people interpret them. They give people something to repeat. The next time a misunderstanding happens, don't rush to fix it. Frame it. Here's what really happened. Here's what it means. Be calm, be early, and be clear. And you're not defending your reputation. You're designing it. Stop letting people write headlines about your life while you're still thinking of a quote. If this hits you hard, it's because you've seen how fast the wrong story can spread and how silence without framing feels like defeat. Stay here. Subscribe not for drama, but for dominance. The next chapter will teach you how calm, not volume, becomes the loudest form of power. Remember, this reality doesn't belong to the truthful. It belongs to the storyteller. Have you ever felt your voice shake when you needed it to sound strong? Have you ever walked into a room and felt your heartbeat expose you, while someone else, calm and composed, took control without saying a word? You told yourself they were confident, born leaders, lucky to have that presence. But what if calm isn't a gift? What if it's a weapon, and you've been fighting without it your whole life? In chaos, the calmest person becomes the authority. People trust whoever looks unbothered, even when they're bluffing. Because calm looks like certainty, and certainty looks like power. When you lose your composure, you don't just lose control, you transfer it. The loudest person rarely wins. The still one does. Think back to every argument that spiraled. The moment you raised your voice, they stopped hearing your words. The one who stayed quiet dictated the tone. The one who kept breathing slowly made everyone else adjust to their pace. That's not luck. That's control. Composure doesn't mean emotionless. It means disciplined emotion. It's knowing when to pause, when to smile, when to let silence sting. It's not suppressing your feelings. It's timing them like strategy. Calm people don't feel less. They leverage what they feel. Start training yourself to slow down when things heat up. When they shout, lower your tone. When they rush, you pause. Watch how the room starts to orbit you. If you've ever walked away from conflict wishing you'd said less, this message is yours. Stay here. Subscribe not for comfort, but for control. Because the next chapter will show you how unpredictability, not consistency, keeps you untouchable. Remember this. Storms don't scare the mountain. They reveal its shape. Be the mountain. Have you ever noticed how people lose interest the moment they think they fully understand you? How their curiosity fades once you become predictable, when every thought, every reaction, every move of yours is easy to read. You've mistaken transparency for trust, but predictability kills respect. When they can guess what you'll do next, they stop fearing your absence. You were taught to be open, to share everything, to be an open book. But here's the truth. Open books get skimmed, not studied. People value what they can't fully grasp. Mystery makes minds chase. Ambiguity keeps attention alive. You don't need to hide. You just need to stop giving everything away. Powerful people never reveal their full script. They let others fill in the blanks with awe or fear. They understand that uncertainty isn't confusion, it's leverage. The moment people can't predict you, they can't prepare for you. And when they can't prepare for you, they can't control you. You don't owe anyone constant access to your thoughts. Silence delayed responses. Selective sharing, all of it builds perception. You become magnetic, not because you say more, but because you say less with purpose. Think about the last time someone surprised you, outsmarted you, stayed calm while you lost control. You respected them, didn't you? That's not charm. That's discipline. If this resonates, it's because you've been too available, too readable, too easy to manage. Stay here. Subscribe, not for motivation, but for mastery. The next chapter will show you why subtraction, not addition, is the real art of strength. Remember, this predictability is a comfort for the weak, but mystery is a shield for the wise. Have you ever looked around your life and realized how heavy it's become? Not because of tragedy, but because of clutter. Too many people, too many obligations, too many emotions that don't belong to you. You tell yourself you're being loyal, responsible, a good person. But deep down, you know the truth. You're drowning in noise that keeps you small. You try to fix everything, carry everyone, hold every relationship together. And what do you get? Exhausted, unappreciated, invisible. Because in this world, no one respects the person who never says no. You think you're helping, but what you're really doing is proving you can be used. Power isn't built by addition, it's built by subtraction. You don't rise by taking on more, you rise by cutting away what doesn't serve your direction. That's what strong people understand. They prune to grow. They remove to rebuild. They don't chase balance, they enforce it. Start small. Stop returning calls that drain your peace. Stop explaining to people who've already made up their minds. Stop rescuing adults who choose chaos. You'll feel guilty at first, then free. That guilt, that's just the sound of your boundaries forming. Peace isn't found, it's engineered. It's designed by deletion. Every no you speak is an act of protection. Every distance you create is a declaration of value. If this truth cuts deep, it's because you've been carrying too much for too long. Stay here. Subscribe not for comfort but for clarity, because the next chapter will show you how letting go of need-not people is what makes you untouchable. Remember, this removal isn't cruelty, it's strategy. You're not losing anyone, you're regaining yourself. Have you ever noticed how easily people control you when they know what you can't live without? How they push the exact buttons they know will make you stay, love, approval, belonging, comfort, and suddenly you forget your boundaries just to keep the peace. You think you're being loyal. You think you're choosing love. But really, you're choosing dependence dressed as devotion. The truth, no one tells you, is this what you need owns you. The job you can't quit. The person you can't say no to, the lifestyle you can't let go of, all of it becomes a quiet prison built out of your own fear. And the scariest part? You built the walls yourself. Freedom doesn't start when everything's perfect. It starts when you stop chasing what keeps you weak. When you can look at something or someone and say, I want this, but I don't need it. That's the moment you shift from emotional hostage to sovereign mind. Detachment doesn't mean coldness, it means clarity. It's not about walking away from people, it's about walking away from desperation. The more you cling, the more they pull away. The less you need, the more power you hold. Start testing your strength in small ways. Spend a weekend without seeking validation. Make a decision without asking permission. Sit with the discomfort of not being chosen and realize you're still breathing, still standing, still whole. If this hits too close, it's because you've mistaken attachment for connection. Stay here. Subscribe not for motivation but for mastery. Because the next chapter will teach you how self-awareness turns your power inward where no one can reach it. Remember this: what you can walk away from, you control. What you can't controls you. Have you ever realized that the people who hurt you the most often remind you of yourself? Different faces, same patterns. The friend who manipulates your kindness. The partner who withdraws love to keep control. The boss who takes credit for your work. You call it bad luck, but deep down you know it's repetition. You're living the same lesson just with new actors. That's the painful truth about power. You can't master others until you master yourself. You attract what mirrors your blind spots. You draw in what exposes what you haven't healed. Every time you say, "Why does this keep happening to me?" it's life saying, because you still don't see it. You've spent years studying people, learning their patterns, trying to predict them. But when was the last time you studied your own? The moments you fold to avoid conflict. The tone you use when you feel small. The way you overgive just to feel worthy. These are your tells, your emotional fingerprints, and someone always notices them before you do. The real Machiavellian move isn't reading others. It's reading yourself. Because once you see your own triggers, no one can use them. Once you understand your motives, no one can manipulate them. Self-awareness is power because it closes every open door someone could walk through to control you. It makes you untouchable, not because you're perfect, but because you're conscious. So start turning the mirror around. Watch yourself with the same precision you use on others. That's how the game flips. If this hits something deep, that's not coincidence, it's a sign you're ready to wake up. Stay here. Subscribe not for ego, but for evolution. Because the next chapter will take you even deeper into the parts of yourself you've been too afraid to face. Remember this: you can't outthink what you refuse to see within. Have you ever tried so hard to be good that it broke you? Have you bitten your tongue, swallowed your anger, and called it maturity? You've been told your darkness is dangerous, that your anger makes you too much, that your envy or pride must be buried deep. But what if the parts you've been taught to hide are the exact ones that keep you powerful? Every virtue has a shadow. Compassion can become manipulation. Patience can turn into passivity. Love can rot into obsession. When you deny these darker instincts, you don't erase them, you just lose control of them. They start leaking out in ways you can't predict. Snapping at the wrong time, trusting the wrong person, craving validation disguised as love. You've tried to be all light, but light without shadow is blindness. Wholeness isn't purity. It's integration. The most dangerous people aren't the ones who have dark sides. They're the ones who pretend they don't. Learn to own your edges. Anger can protect boundaries when guided. Envy can fuel evolution when understood. Pride can anchor standards when balanced. Power comes from awareness, not avoidance. You can't master what you keep buried. You're not meant to destroy your shadow. You're meant to negotiate with it. That's how you stay human and strategic at the same time. So stop apologizing for your fire. Stop diluting yourself to be digestible. Your shadow isn't your enemy. It's your map. If this hits home, it's because you've spent too long fighting yourself. Stay here. Subscribe not for comfort, but for command. Because the next chapter will teach you how to turn that awareness into strategy, the blueprint the world will never hand you. Remember this: you are not light or dark. You are both, and that's where your real strength lives. Have you ever felt like your whole life has been one long reaction? You wait to see what happens, then scramble to fix it. Someone disrespects you, and you respond. An opportunity shows up and you chase it. A crisis hits, and you try to survive it. You're always moving, but never directing. You call it being adaptable, but deep down you know it's just chaos disguised as flexibility. That's what most people don't understand. Life isn't random. It's designed by those who plan. The powerful don't guess. They architect. Every word they say, every silence they keep, every risk they take, it all fits inside a strategy. You call it luck. It's not. It's engineering. Chance favors the prepared, but real influence favors the deliberate. When you build your world instead of reacting to it, you stop depending on luck and start designing outcomes. That's what strategy really is. Emotional discipline turned into structure. So ask yourself, are you surviving or designing? Every day you wake up without a plan, you're walking into someone else's. And guess what? In their plan, you're not the hero. You're the resource. Start mapping your life like a chessboard. Who adds value? Who drains it? What moves multiply you, and which ones just keep you busy? Stop being everywhere and start being effective. Power isn't in motion, it's in precision. If this hit you hard, it's because you've been confusing effort with intention. Stay here. Subscribe not for motivation, but for mastery. Because the next chapter will teach you how to see the board differently, how to turn observation into quiet dominance. Remember, this luck is for those who wait. Power is for those who plan. Have you ever looked at your life and felt like something finally clicked? Not because the world changed, but because you did. Suddenly, conversations sound different. Faces look different. You can feel when someone's lying, when energy shifts, when control is being passed from one hand to another. You used to take things personally. Now you just see patterns. That's the quiet moment every powerful person remembers, the moment of seeing. It's not dramatic. It's subtle, almost eerie. The world doesn't look new. It looks exposed. You realize most people are sleepwalking, chasing approval, reacting to noise. But not you. Not anymore. You've spent your whole life trying to survive the game, only to realize you were supposed to learn it. Every manipulation, every rejection, every silence, they were all data. Now you understand the code. You speak a language most people don't even know exists. And here's the real shift. Power stops feeling like control over others. It becomes control over yourself. You don't need to win every argument, you already know the truth. You don't need to explain your moves, you already know why you made them. That's freedom. That's sovereignty. Most people will never get here because this level of awareness demands stillness, not noise. It requires you to be comfortable being misunderstood. It asks you to walk away quietly while the crowd argues loudly. If this resonates, it means you're ready. Stay here. Subscribe not for motivation, but for mastery. Because this isn't the end of the story. It's the beginning of awareness, the kind that can't be undone. Remember this: once you see the game, you don't chase power. You become it.